Welcome everyone to another episode of Kev's Workshop. In my workshop I'm building this particular locomotive, New South Wales Government Rail, or should I say the NSWGR locomotive, which is the 53 class. Because there's over 190 of these locos built, they became the 54s. Now, just distinctive feature that separates these from the standard 280s of the 50s, 51s and 52s is this elevated running board. So that's about the only real difference. There are 280. This locomotive here is 5461. It's preserved by the New South Wales Rail Transport Museum and is currently in 2017 up at the Valley Heights Loco Depot west of Sydney. Now, I've had a cab ride in this loco many years ago, back in the 80s, and this is how I remember seeing the locomotive back in the day. This is pictured at the Broadmeadow Roundhouse near Newcastle. It's a shot I got from somebody on Flickr. So to the guy that took the photo and uploaded it to Flickr, thank you very much. And Greg Edwards does the data sheets. And Greg's located in Canberra. I've got shown off the paperwork here, well not the paper, the plastic sleeve which it's in. And these are scaled down from A3 to A4 size, purely to go with my working folder, which on the cover, if I take the clear page out of the way, there's another wonderful shot. It's taken down Kiama, which is on the main south from Sydney, and photos by David Howarth. So, a little introduction on the full-size locomotive there. And if you're coming to do any sort of scratch building or kit bashing, if you get yourself a little folder put together, oops, sorry about that folks. So yeah, basically get as much information, as many details as you can. A lot of stuff here I've photocopied from other books, showing the locomotive I'm modelling. And having plans is a great thing, at least having those plans you can work from some details. A bit more information here on 5461. And there's some other colour photos and black and white photos that someone else has taken. Unfortunately I haven't got any of my shots in this folder. So my stuff was taken back in the day on instant camera film. So my folder's a mixture of portrait and landscape shots and information. Shots from the magazine, which I'm a member of the New South Wales Rail Transport Museum. So there she is in better days, and she's been nicely preserved. So we get this reflective light off here for you. One of many shots of 5461. So for Tony Hurst, thank you mate for taking these awesome shots. There should be a link to Tony's website on my Kev's Workshop pages. So go to the links page, you should find a link to Tony's photos. There it is again. Somehow doubled up on that. But there's the cab details that were done by somebody. It shows you the interior cab details that should be in it. So a slight reflection off it. There we are, there's the lower half. So I have tried to put as much of that detail into my model, but there's still a lot that hasn't been put in. Now another guy I found on Flickr. Same as photo bucket, tumbler and all the rest. But there's another great shot. And down here, there's the other side. So, can't remember the guy's name, but that's who it comes under. But he's taken some awesome shots. So the people who have taken these photos and uploaded them to the internet, I thank them very much. Those who've put photos into magazine articles. I've also been a big helping hand. Here's another one of his shots. So doing Google searches, it's an easy way to find photos. And this came from a calendar. The strange thing is, even though 5461 and 4201 are both in this one single shot, 42 class has been one of my most recent projects I've been working on. And 5461 I've been working on since around about 2014. So in 2017 it's around 2.5 to 3 years worth of work I've been putting into this. That's siren in the background. Kids are just about out of school. Bummer. Oh well. There's a shot of 4601 and 5367. Sorry, 5461 I should say. They're up at Valley Heights. That's from the RTM website. So 5367 because that's the other preserved 53 class. That ended up going to Lachlan Vintage Village at Forbes, Western New South Wales, and was later rescued and brought back to life by the Lachlan Valley Rail Society. So 5367 is also preserved, and it would be nice to one day see both these engines together, double head. Hint hint, RTM. So hopefully someone from the Lachlan Valley Railway Society might be watching this video and go, hey, here's a great idea. Another shot. This is the one from a calendar. So I'm just stretching around a few things here. So that's 5367 again. And then it's another wonderful shot taken by David Howarth. Thanks Dave, you take some awesome shots mate. So yeah, thanks to the LVR for preserving 5367 for 280 standard goods. There's a 42 class behind it. That should be 4204, which is also preserved, and it's also here in the text as well. There we are. So, by having a file full of bits and pieces, I've got enough information to work from. And then shots of these standard goods engines in the natural glory, you might say. Days when the NSWGR ran them to death, when they were the heavy haulage loco of the day. And it's not so much uncommon to see these things running tender first. Up around the Newcastle to Maitland areas, running the rake of LCH wagons, no doubt a CHG card's found on the back. According to the text here, it's taken up at Midland area, the present Victoria Street station. So, another shot, there you are, 5365 from the back, around the same location looking the other direction. So, they have a working folder, if you want to call it that. It shows you all the full size stuff. But the 55s and 56 classes, which are also basically 280s like this, the visible difference is what we're looking at here. That strange southern valve gear. So the raised running board, and I'm led to believe there's only one of these 55 class locos preserved. And they did spill over the 100 mark, became the 56s as well. The 280 standard goods of New South Wales Government Rail happen to be a very popular workhorse and backbone of things. So there's another 53 in service, going by the text underneath, 5448. There you are. So this came from a Rail Transport Museum calendar. So photo by Ron Seelums. Thanks, Ron. And I can't remember who took this shot. Again, I got this one off the internet. It's at Everly. And it's 54.75. So this sort of information, let's put this to one side. The purpose of this particular, hopefully short video, is to give some idea on the model. So, things like this coming to mind. Since one of my previous videos on YouTube of projects here in Kev's workshop, my workshop there, this is the progress so far on the 53 class. As you can see from around the front here, I have completed the smoke box door detail, got the headlight in place. I still need to do the front buffers. I'm deciding whether to put a KD coupler or the original hook style cup on the front. 2 bits of brass there that you can still see unpainted. That's where I've still got to add in the front of the chassis. And in the background here you can see the N-scale version, which I've done several years ago, back in the 90s. And the English Guards van behind it will become another CHG. But that's the N-scale version. You can see here where the chassis comes in down the front. Oops, I've knocked my loco to one side. Bear with me a moment. There we go. I've mostly put it back on the track. Silly me bumping things. But down here I've actually put in the detail for the hatch. Sandboxes are layers of plastic glued together, filed and shaped to suit, as very similar to the smoke box saddle. Cylinders are done the same way as the sandboxes. Layers upon layers of plastic glued together, then hand filed and shaped. There's a slight flat spot here, sorry, at the front. So this is my bad in folding. I finally have got the crosshead guide bars done, and the purpose of this particular video are these rods. Bits of HO scale, fine scale rail, cut from a length. There's actually 3 sections there. Until I trim down these front crank pins, I'm only going to get as far as the guide bars. Now if I can hold this camera without dropping things. As you see, when I move this, that's where it hits. So when I go around the other way, it'll hit on the other side. The detail I've put on, I've still got to do finish off the steam dome. But the water delivery pipes are there. The conduit, or electrical conduit for the model, is actual armature winding wire, as are the oil pipes coming from the cab down to the smoke box. And you see the other bit of armature winding wire going from the cab up to the smoke box along the top, the electrical conduit. If you look closely in here, the steam generator, a bit of brass tube with some plastic at either end. Then to get the circular ends, that was a square. I've cut the corners hexagonal, so we'll cut the corners off at 45s. Fold it from an octagonal, I should say, and then fold it round. Bit of telecom phone cable, or Cat5e cable type wire for the exhaust. Bit of MIG welding wire for the whistle, and then 2 bits of blue electrical insulation over the top of it. Forms a 5-chimer, and some 240 volt electrical wire for the safety valves. As you can see, the baller bands here are actually paper, and so are the 2 roof strips, which is made of brass roof. And I've used some twist tie wire for the porthole window and for the grab rails, or the loco cab rails. Look underneath here, the low water injection pipe from the tender. That there's actually done out of MIG welding wire, as are the sand pipes on both sides. The brake cylinder is made up of a couple of layers of plastic, just like I did the cylinders at the front. And it's got a bit of twist tie wire to form the seams, or the rim. The brakes, about a layer of thick plastic in behind, then some brass I've cut and glued on front. So you got the pipe work here is actually twist tie wire, and the strap is actually made of paper. So that's a little bit about scratch building, and then there's some of the cab detail for you. Change camera shots and be back to you in a moment. Okay, from a slightly different point of view, with the guide bars, which are now sitting here, and you can sort of see how I've done my firebox as well. But also from this point of view, you can see how the rods are positioned. Because the two centre axles are free floating up and down for any badly laid track that I may happen to encounter, you'll notice I've got the rods in three sections. The first section's here, second and last section. And you see how they step out. So with that, from the side it looks like one piece, but basically, if I get this camera to tranche into the other hand, whoops, there I go again. My bad camera work. But from here, that should all move nicely together. Now this only has one side done. I've got to make the other side. And there's some of that rail. Let's come down here and have a quick look in the dark. Oh, look at this big spooky finger. Okay. This camera still doesn't want to focus too well. You see I've I've coloured the underside of the rail in black texture, just so I know where I'm working. One side of this, so we're going to turn this at an angle. It's not easy to focus up, at least with this camera anyway. Don't have a manual override. But the profile for the rail, you've got your webbing at the bottom and your rail head at the top. That gives you the fluted sides that you need. But what I've done, so we can come up closer here, you may or may not be able to see I've taken the webbing on one side almost fully away, and the camera's trying to focus. You see where I haven't done it, where I have done. I put that black texture mark there as a rough idea of how far I need to clear back, but I will have to go further yet, because by the time that comes up here, I will need, so let me get my hand out of the way so I can see what I'm videoing, but I will need at least that much of it. So I will have to come back to almost here, removing the web on one side. Now to give you some idea what I've done, I'll swap the camera to the other hand. It's a little easier going back than coming forwards. Just have a quick look at this part of it. I'm about to start the next section of it. By taking this out to this point for you, you can see where I've taken the webbing and half the rail head on each section. That allows it for a flush fit. And on this section here, which I've got now hanging down, you can sort of see here where I've actually drilled the holes through the rail itself. And by the time the Romford retainers go in place, the retainers will actually give it the effect I'm hoping I'm going to find. Now, come down here. Maybe's not. Hello, there we go. Come on, camera, focus up. You might be able to see here I've taken the rail head and the webbing almost to flush. So the back side of it, there's the underneath the rail, the camera will hold focus. So at least I know which way is top and bottom. It's any reason for marking. So this will be the reverse side of the con rods. Oops. Just meant to lose the rod. There we go. Let's come up closer for you. There you go. It's almost there. Looks kind of tatty up close, I know. But by the time you got this arrangement, and trying to slot this back in place, something I have found worthy of doing, apart from losing the parts when they spring out of the tweezers, is actually giving a bit of slop in these holes. You want a minimum amount of slop at least. Got one end. Oh no, it's come off again. Mind you, I'm trying to do this with one hand and not with two. So yeah, basically when this comes back in place, hopefully I'll get it right. Right. So these rods here, once they're in place, it looks like one continuous rod. So hopefully that'll take some pretty rough track. The counterweights I've got on these Romford driving wheels are actually a bit of 5 thou sheet brass. You start off by cutting also a rectangle. You cut the two back corners off. The back corners I'm referring to are where we are, over here. I'll come to this one. It's these two corners at the back here. Then you cut it round. Once that's cut straight across there, you want to hold this in between your long nose pliers, and using a Dremel I just shaved it down enough till I got the correct curvature on the inside. That's how I did all the counterweights on both sides of this engine. Another step I will need to make up very soon will be the piston rod and crosshead, and then I'll be able to do that to the main connecting rod, which at this stage, come down to here, is my first attempt at doing rods using some thin sheet steel. That's the thickness of it there. It's probably a 1/2 mil thick, 1/2 mil to 1 mil thick steel. This will become the main connecting rod. Whoops, if I don't keep losing it. And I've done it as the left hand side. The main rod, left hand side. If I come a bit closer, it's tapered. Well, that is how the rod's supposed to be tapered. So I've just taken away bits and pieces, but somehow I still have to drill a hole at this end. That's going to be fun. I don't want to snap my drill. Well, this end might be a little bit easier, but if all else fails, I've got some more of the rail left. And this little tiny bugger, this is what I don't want to snap. It comes out of a set of drills, and the one I'm using in this case is my number 61 drill, which is 0.39 thou. So your number of your drills are at the top row, the diameter of your drill is at the bottom row. And this has 2 rows of drills. So if you think my number 61 drill is tiny, let's have a closer look at this. I'll spin this around here. I've got like silicone or something holding them from being lost. There's some seriously tiny drills in this set. So I can't remember where this set came from. Index drills, size 61 to size 80. 61 being the largest, 80 being the smallest. For some reason the hinge is on the right hand side, not the left. So it's definitely going to be made in Japan. There's a story from at least 2005 that I was told that guys in America thought they made the world's smallest drill. Sent off to somewhere in Japan, I forget now where. They came back, sent it back to America with a hole through the drill. So is this the size drill they were playing with? We only can speculate, or at least I can anyway. But yeah, a number 80 drill has a 0.135 thou. So fairly darn tiny. If I get a scale ruler out, let's see where we go here. So I'm setting the camera off into oblivion here. Try to do this without getting too much reflection. I'll give you an idea size of these damn drills. So that's the scale dimensions. So let's look at that. There's a 3-inch. Come over here if you can. That's a scale from 0 to 3 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, 1 foot. So my second largest drill, which in this case is a number 62 drill, which is also 0.38 diameter. It's roughly around 3 scale inches in diameter. So if we put this up against a standard rule, I'll bring you down a standard rule if I can. Australian Rail Group, QR company. Let's see if we can put what we got here. Put the number 71 drill, which is 0.26 thou. The number 71 drill up against a standard centimetre mark, and you're looking around 1 mil thereabouts. So the smallest drill we've got here, the number 80, it's not even a quarter of a millimetre. It's pretty darn tiny. Probably only about the same sort of thickness as the marking itself. So that'll give you an idea. This ruler also comes completely equipped with the imperial marker. So by swapping it over into inches, for the Americans who can't understand what metric's all about, but yet created the kilometres. Okay, dollars and cents. So you can see how small the number 80 drill is. If I go to the number 71, so there's your 1 inch mark. So for those who understand the imperial better, that's the size of a number 71. So the drill I'm needing out, which I've now got buried a bit, is the number 62 drill. It's almost the same. So that's the larger drill. That's the reason for all that is to show you that's what's required through the Rumford crank pins. So if you're going into, or getting into, or fairly well into the idea of scratch building, and you're doing yourself a steam loco, it's the sort of thing you need to have as far as tools to get this sort of result that we were looking at here. This slot, you may notice, I've put into my model. That's for these guide bars at the back here. And I've designed these in such a way that that'll sit central and won't be able to shift sideways. The other aspect to it, okay, sit that way then, that they are at a set width and will run parallel once it's sitting located in here. So another camera shot in a moment and we'll see things from a slightly different perspective. Okay, from a different camera point of view and now sitting on a tripod. Come on camera, focus up. Got a Dremel Moto tool. So this cord to come further around for you. Now pull out the cord so got room. Dremel Moto tool. This is my single speed job. I'll use this one because it's got the chuck in it. It's a bit of a noisy one. It had to have a repair job done several years ago because there's a connecting shaft between the motor and the chuck. There's like a little sleeve. Basically that needed to be seen to. This one here has a locking on it. That'll actually lock the chuck so you can undo it, pull the drill out. This is the number 61 drill. So that's now released. So you can now be free to turn. Very noisy bugger. But still usable. This was my second Dremel that I've got. My first one, the rear bearing buggered up in it. And it worked in easier to get another Dremel. When that one buggered up, I ended up having to get my third one. And this is a multi-speed job. 300i. So you've got your off, low speed, high speed. And this one here, I've got my cut-off wheel, which is just about worn down. This one has the standard collet, the locking button, so you can unlock it and lock it. I'll have to change this wheel over pretty soon because it's getting very worn down. It's done a fair bit of work cutting through steel. To give you an idea, it was so much bigger before I started doing that. But still, regardless. So this one here I use for trimming up, also using plastic and all. So I know there's always somebody interested in what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Now what I'll do for you, I've just made up 2 rods between camera changes, of course. That's one of them. Now this will be very difficult to see. I'll try to do it this way for you. That's the rod from the first and second axle. And you always leave a little extra over length. So when you do your steam loco rods, you've got to make them over length on purpose. So long as your holes for the crank pins are spot on with the axle centre, you should be pretty all right. At this particular point, I shall do here. When you're holding it in between your finger and thumb, be aware, it's metal, it gets hot. When you smell burning flesh, you know you've gone a bit too hot. So, that there's just been brought up, a little hard to see. I've got a bit more to go yet. Take a little bit at a time, it works in better. Put a 45mm shank at the bottom. And 45mm at the top. Now know each side is the reverse, and make life a bit easy for you. Being it's fine scale, you can see all my scuff marks on the back, even though you can't see on the camera. Do 1/2 first. How hot? Just say it gets hot. Well, what I can see from my point of view, which you may not be able to, I'm getting the fluorescent light reflection off the back. That should hopefully, camera may not focus enough for you. Not easy. But you see there, I've got a lot of overhang. I'll get the lighting correct for you. Alright, that's about to go. The reverse side, the other end. That's the side I've just done, or end I've just done. So let's see how we go this end. How hot? How hot? Okay, just shorten this one down to suit. Put a 45 on the top of it. Put a 45 at the bottom. Best to go on the trailing side. Or do a cross cut. That's better. Not as noisy. Got fumble fingers here. And whether the camera will focus in on this, it's another story. There's the reverse side of the rail. That's the side that'll be facing the wheel. You may or may not be able to discern the 45 chamfers top and bottom. And I can do this slightly different. There's the facing side, it'll be facing out. So it's very important, as I say, when you drill your holes for your crank pins, that each hole is spot on for your axle centre. So at least with that, it won't, hopefully won't do any binding. As I've done previously last night, which was Tuesday night. Tonight's Wednesday night that I'm doing the recording. I'm making sure, this isn't easy for me to hold either, but to make sure your crank pin holes are lined up, set with the axle centres. Yes, there shouldn't be any binding between your crank pins and your rods. So if I can get that into there, certainly if I can get one without pinging onto the workshop floor, the other one, that goes in, away you go. And in this case, I'm trying to hold the other left hand side rods in place. So getting through the back dead centre or forward dead centre is important. If there's no binding at forward or back dead centre, you know your positionings are A-OK. Just fighting with a wheel that doesn't want to rotate itself around. There we go. So by going through, making sure it's no binding at forward or back dead centre, we know we're right. The next ones I'll work on will end up being these two back ones, and then the two centre ones, which I've already done, mainly because I buggered up. Meant to do the last pair. There's my first lot. Actually, let's come around over this way. Right. That's the ones for the axles 2 and 3, which is my centre set. You see, I've left the bit of rail a lot longer than what it needs to be. Again, this will get trimmed down, and there's a bit more work to be done on these rods yet. But while that looks like a bit of rail, it won't do by the time I'm finished. So that bit there will be the last piece to go in. eventually sit in place there. And so far, so good for forward dead centre, and I come round into back dead centre. Just do this out, dropping everything off the other side. It's better. So when I come through back dead centre, everything should all be roughly lined up. Now, as you'll notice, there's a bit of movement there. This right here, starting to loose things off the other side now. So there's definitely a bit of movement here. And don't forget, these two centre axles ride vertically up and down, so there needs to be a little bit of slop in it. Now if I was to be smart enough, have fully compensated axles, it would ride a lot better on track. That's the top side of the chassis. And there's the underside of the chassis. See, I've made the front leading wheels. That text and mark just indicates to me pickup rail. So if I decide to power the leading set of wheels, the extra pickups, that's what side I'll tap into. See the brake rigging from underneath this loco. This is basically as simple as I can make a chassis. Now if I was to model this cartoon style, I should have the rods like that. But because I'm trying to model something properly, they won't end up like that. Okay. Come back to another camera shot.